Okay, welcome citizens of the Citizens Archive Research Project of Objects Unknown. So glad you're here. I'm Terry McMahon, and I am your host today. And a pretty exciting video. This is video number 1 in a series of 7 that we'll be releasing over the next 4 to 5 weeks. 15 years in the research and discovery of what we're going to be putting forth to you, and we think we have pretty great and very sufficient image evidence, at least from the Space Agency archives, to put forth this theory. Now, we're not going to get through this entire theory in video 1. Can't do it in just one short video. That's why we're spreading it out over 7. And any questions you may have at the end of this, I'm pretty sure will be answered in the ensuing and following videos to come. But we feel this is really a groundbreaking type of theory, and we're going to put it forth to you here for you, our fans and followers of our awesome community. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with the photo or image. We like to say that, at least for us, started it all. And in the beginning, I'm going to explain this a little bit to you, and then we're going to get going very quickly through what we want to show to you. Started with what we call, or not we call, 6886. This is Apollo 12 6886. And this, of course, is a shot that's been seen by a lot of people. It's available online, Space Agency archives. But what we feel we've discovered and are researching hasn't been published before, and that's what you are going to see now. So we're going to start here, and we're going to lay the premise for what we're saying. And then we're going to move very, very quickly here in a few minutes, everyone. This is AS12 47 6886, 47 being Revolution 47. They're coming over the far side of the moon and coming over to the near side. Just a regular shot, not a big deal, seeing the Earth, obviously, as they come over. Beautiful shot. Now, what do we think is significant about this shot? It is what is in this shot that we're excited about. Two objects that we see in this image. An object right here and an object up to the left over here. It is particularly the object down on the right that is above the lunar surface. We believe this is a fantastic example, if not one of the best, actually, I think, of an extraterrestrial alien craft that is following, or at least checking out, Apollo 12. Pretty amazing. We went through the archives, we went through the Apollo 12 information, and this is not some satellite that they deployed. Wouldn't look like this anyway and wouldn't be in this area. This is nothing they deployed. This is Apollo 12. There is no explanation for this obvious spacecraft that is below them. I don't know if they saw it, because it only lasts for about a couple of seconds, and we'll get to that in a moment and show you why. Let's take a look at the first object, everyone. And the first object being, obviously, one of the most important that we want to show you here today. Okay, here we go. This is the photo, the image. We have two arrows pointing out two different objects. Object on the right, object on the left. You're probably saying, well, Terry, I can't see it very well. I know you can't, especially on video for mobile, so we're going to give you some fantastic close-ups. Now, this is not the close-up, just want to show you perspective as we get into this object here. This is the object you just saw. Pretty amazing. It is obviously traversing above the lunar surface, very far below them. They're about 250 miles in orbit, just so you know. So they're looking down. This object is off in the distance, but pretty amazing. It's obviously a metallic, or for lack of a better word, metallic type object. You can see the sun glinting off its metallic surface. Copper, brass looking. We have found very similar objects in other space missions, but this one is clearly there, which is what makes it exciting. And this object is one we're looking at right over here to the right hand side. It is also what is the other object in this photo that we find most exciting for us, and we're going to get to that one right now. Here we go. It's an object up here. You might see just the hint of an an object that looks like an S, right? An S kind of on its side, an S-type curve. Now we're going to give you some close-ups here coming up in just a moment so you can see what we are talking about, and we want to explain why we don't think this is just dirt or debris or some kind of reflection on the photograph. Let's get to some close-ups so you can see exactly what we mean, and then we're going to move very quickly from here. Bear with me a moment. Whether or not an object is a scratch, debris, dust, hair, or just general trash on an image, scan, or emulsion. And the difference between that and whether something is actually in the image, because if it's in the image, then we have something to talk about. If it's not in the image, we have nothing to talk about. We believe this object is in quite a large object. And we're going to show you the other ones that are throughout the Apollo missions. Forms the basis of what we're putting forth. This object we see over and over throughout the missions, all the way from Gemini all the way up through ISS and even the rover missions. This object many times appears with kind of another anomalous object, you know, a hard UFO, standard classic looking UFO. This object appears. We believe these two objects are related. We believe maybe one is command and control and is also helping to deploy the other object. In, I believe it's video 5, we're going to show you some just stunning video footage of the ISS and astronaut EVA, to where we see clearly these orbs that come into view around the ISS and actually come together and form something very close to this. This is a snake-like, worm-like object that's been talked about by not just us, but other people before, that we are tracking down as a new kind of class of objects. And it's been seen everywhere. This is a case we're going to make. Let's take a look at this. This is Apollo 11, the mission before, obviously, Revolution 41. This is the same type of object. They are in lunar orbit, obviously, and this is looking down below them in orbit. We believe, like the other one, this is an actual object in space. Looking at a comparison of the two, and we've got some great collages coming up. This worm-like, snake-like object that, by the way, was pointed out by Story Musgrave, one of our most celebrated astronauts, who said that in one of his shuttle missions he saw a snake-like, worm-like object emanating with light inside of it, emanations following the shuttle. That's an amazing claim. And, you know, for a lot of years, I've looked at all these photos, so many tens and thousands, and I've discounted these objects. But when Story Musgrave said that, and along with some other evidence you're going to see, we came to realize that we very likely were looking at real objects, which brings us to Gemini. This is a shot, beautiful shot from Gemini. They're in orbit, of course, and I believe this is I think this is maybe 1964 or 65. I'll get verification on that, but just a regular shot, no big deal, right? What do you see in the shot? Absolutely nothing. And it is what we found in the shot that is the most striking. We've been doing a lot of deep zoom, of course, on all the mission archive images. Looking over in this area over here, what do you see? Absolutely nothing. Until one starts focusing and enhancing and zooming down in this area to the left. You may see just a little hint. You probably can't see it from where you are now, but there's an object here that's about, we estimate, 50 to 60 miles away, down below them, still in Earth orbit, following them, or they've passed it by, one of the two. And here is what we discovered. And you'll start getting a close-up of it now. Do you see this same type, S-type shape, of course, just on its side? This S-type shape right here, this object is below them. And we do firmly believe that this is a real object in the photograph. In fact, the way the light is reflecting off of it is accurate for an object being in the image at this time. Take a look at this just for a moment. This is the object. Now, this S-type shape this worm-like, and I hate to call it worm-like, snake-like, because that's just an awful description, but there's no other way to describe it. Story Musgrave described it that way, so I don't feel too bad. This object right here is alien tech. It looks organic, but we think it's alien technology. And that this object right here actually is what releases the orbs and spheres that are seen around the world all the time. That this object here also becomes rigid and becomes the cigar-like object is a type of shape-shifting, transmorphing type of technology is what we believe. And like I said, we're not going to be able to demonstrate all of it video 1, but we're just setting the premise here. Now, what's interesting in these objects, there's a couple of different types of them. And the different types are, of course, this snake-like one, and then we've been coming across and studying ones like this. This is Apollo 12. This is AS1247-6889. And we're going to give you some nice close-ups of this. This is down below them. And the one thing we're just wanting you to pay attention of is this S-type snake-like body with a bit of a flared or phalanged head at the top, for lack of a better word. This configuration appears again and again and again. And we're going to try to demonstrate that a bit of that to you right now. This photograph here, this is from Apollo 11 looking down on a crater. Again, we see this type of S-shaped body with this type of what we call flare or flanged type of head, it looks like. And we're pointing it out now because we're just going to show you many examples over the next 7 videos. Again, we feel these are objects that are in the photograph, and we're going to talk about some ways that you can tell whether something's just debris or nothing and an actual object. Moving forward a little bit quicker now. We're going to show you some things here that are pretty amazing. We believe these things are in orbit, lunar orbit, Earth orbit, and particularly on the moon, which is the most striking. Here again, another example. There's a lot of similarities with these, especially with the articulation of the body, also the phalanged head, a bit of a curly Q to the left over here you'll see again and again. And we're going to move through some of these right now. I want to show you a collage so you can get an idea. All right, we're going to call this one SCurve. If I can just this is a good example. This is over 3 different Apollo missions and over years apart. For example, we have this one here. This is a shot looking down. I think this is Crookes Crater. This is a shot taken from orbit. We see these 2 anomalous objects right here. This one is the one that both of them are of interest, but this one is of incredible interest right here. And if you notice, the S-type body, the snake worm-like type body, the phalanged head, we get the same one over here as well. And we'll be posting these collages, a lot of collages. Collages are very helpful for comparison. This is, I believe, Apollo 11. Same type of objects below them. We believe that is in the photograph as well. And this type of phalanged head. And you just see this again and again and again. Now, most interesting as well is what we see here, this S-type shape object. This is from 6886 upper left, if you see we're looking at right here. This is from Apollo 11, very similar object. This is the one we just showed you that was from Gemini as well. This one, I believe this is Apollo 14. They're looking up, and we'll show you the full photos of it. They're looking up. Of course, they're on the surface, and they're taking a shot on the surface, and this appeared up above them. And amazingly similar objects, as is this one, again, with the articulation of a snake-like body and the flared head. And then this one. This is a famous Story Musgrave photo, I believe. Story Musgrave, one of our astronauts, has said that he saw, bizarrely enough, a snake-like, worm-like body in space. And I believe this is the photo that they snapped of it. And I'll probably be posting one right now, overlay now, on it so you can get a closer up version. But again, look at this phalanged or flared head. It's similar just across the board. And we feel a lot of it is corroborative evidence. Mission after mission, what they call the delta shape and this snake-like, worm-like shape has been found following the astronauts in mission after mission, not just Apollo. And here's another example of this is, I think, Apollo 11 or 12, and this is off in the distance. This shape becomes apparent over and over. Again, this is Apollo, I believe, 14, this type of object off in the distance. And we're going to have a lot of collages for you like this over the video series, so you can get just a good idea of why we're comparing these things the way that we are. We believe that we're looking at an overlooked object, something that is real, that is has something to do with the UFOs that we see, and it's going to culminate. We're making the case that these things are on the moon, and we're making the case that these things are in Earth orbit as well. And one of the most interesting objects is this one right here, this one in the middle that you're looking at. This is really the next frame after 6886 with that first series, those two objects we showed you. This is on the ground in the distance, as if this S-type shape is actually landing on the ground. You see, looks like there's, well, we'll show you in the full photograph, there's a lot of debris kicked up, and again, this phalanged head, if you can just see it here, just at the end here, and this curved type body. And we'll bring up the full shot for you. Again, this type of thing being an object that we think has a lot to do with whoever this extraterrestrial presence is. So we've got a lot to come in videos 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to be showing you a lot of image evidence and research that we don't believe has been posted before or published before. And so we're excited to bring that to you. And in each of the videos, we're going to make the case for why we believe what we believe. Just real quick, looking over here, we think we're onto something, but it's going to be up to us to make the case of why we're onto something. Listen, we want all of your comments. We look forward to all of your comments, so we hope you bring them to us. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and we've got a lot of things to show you. We're just going to end with some of our photos here so you can kind of have a nice recap. I'm Terry McMahon of the Citizens Archive Research Project of Objects Unknown. Really glad you're here. And we'll see you in video 2 and, of course, back on our Facebook and YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Watch the outro here.